All right, cool. You good?
I'm good, mate.
All right. So yeah, we'll kick it off. Sean, good to have you on, man.
Pleasure to be here, mate.
Yeah, bit different from my typical interview.
Yeah.
Was sort of interviewing an ex DJ.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to have you on. I think it would be good for maybe for you to give yourself a bit of an introduction for people that are listening or for the first time or people that have seen your face before but are like, I remember him.
Great. My name's Sean Willers. I was a DJ for around 8 years with me and my younger brother called the Willers Brothers. Quite a minimal sound we played. We started as residents at Egg in London at King's Cross. We had a residency there for 4 years. We're actually the second most listed DJs to play that club. And then we moved to Berlin. We spent 4 years in Berlin. We've released on labels like Piv, Vortre, Heavy House, and then about 3 years ago today, actually, my career ended, and it was due to the lifestyle that I was living, and then that transitioned me into my health and fitness journey. And 2 years ago, I set up a business called Willers Fitness, which started. The vision was to help creatives and DJs and people within the music industry have some sort of hold on their health and fitness, on their on their routine, on their lifestyle, to create longevity in their career. But since that, the business has bloomed to something much bigger, and now we're supporting people all over the world from all different walks of life to help them create a better life through fitness, through body and physical performance-based transformation, and moving away from the cycle of drink and drug use. So that's actually the quickest I've ever done that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, pretty much. But that's it. So
Yeah. There's so much there. I think. Well, I kind of one of the reasons I bring people onto this podcast to share their journey, and the people that listen to us are often other DJs and artists and people interested in finding out more about industry professionals and DJs' journey.
Yeah.
So I would like to kind of start around there.
Absolutely.
Like, taking you right back to like where it started.
Yeah.
Like, was music a part of your life from day dot? Did you get into it? Like, where's the routing?
Yeah, great. House music never. What house and techno never was a part of my life. Actually, I never once said I wanted to be a DJ. I've always been a real big hip hop fan. Like, that's what I was listening to when I was a kid, like Wu-Tang, stuff like that. And I come from a fitness background, so I had a difficult upbringing. A lot of drink problems, a lot of drug problems when I was younger, and then I sort of found fitness when I was around 18. Did my personal training qualification during the military when I was 20. Spent 4 years in the military. Went to Afghanistan. Come out of the military and went back into the fitness industry. And I think it was around 24, 25. I discovered Marco Carolla. And when for me, when he was at his peak, I think when he used to do like the fabric mixes and at the time my brother was going to Fabric. He was really into dubstep at the time, and then when we found like Carolla, Carl Cox, stuff like that, I was like, wow, I've never really listened to this before, and then we went to Fabric for Carolla. When he used to do Fabric, and that just sort of changed my mind. I was really got into that sort of minimalist sound that it was at the time, and then we started to go to after parties where my friends were DJs, and we used to have a little go on the decks it was like CDJs, and I was like, actually, this is really good. I was really getting into the actual sound of it. And I really was enjoying learning the craft of like trying to mix. And then we ended up buying our own like CDJs. I can't remember which ones they were now, but they were old ones, you know. They were really old. And then and that was it. And then that sort of started my journey then, you know, into really submerse myself into the actual scene and really started to look deeper into the music. Like for me, I think with what I was into and what my brother was into, we were always into the more niche side of music. Because of my upbringing with my dad, he was always into all sorts of music, but it would never be like pop, you know what I mean? It would never be the usual sound that everyone else was listening to. And that was very similar for me from like with my hip hop, what I was listening to, it was always a little bit more, I hate using the word underground, but that's what I'm going to use.
Own it.
Yeah, and then that sort of transitioned into my DJ, you know, into the music that I liked in terms of house and techno as well. It was a little bit more underground. It was a little bit less mainstream at the time. And I think that's what stood us out, because then we started to create mixes. And this is at a time when Facebook was like, you know, everyone used to send the mixes out on Facebook.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Where they just put it into the feed.
Yeah.
And everyone could see it.
Or for me, when I first started doing it, I'd just message anyone who I see on Facebook who had like a pair of headphones on. I'd like add them and message them and be like, hey, it's Sean from the Willers brothers. Me and my brother just naturally started DJing together. So, you know, our surname is Willers, so that was just our DJ name, Willers Brothers. Like, there was no thought went into it. And I started sending the mix over. We started going out to a lot more nights, and then we sort of got our lucky break, so to speak. Like, someone that I messaged, he was like, oh yeah, by the way, we've got this DJ competition. And at the time I was living in Southend in Essex. And it was quite a cool scene there, actually, at the time. But this guy, he said, look, we've got this DJ competition. It's on a Wednesday in Vauxhall. Do you want to come along? And me and Liam were like, yeah, absolutely. And at the time, I was working in the fitness industry. But I was getting less and less interested in that.
What year was this?
Oh, 2012 was the first gig that I had. Big, you know, not big gig, but first real gig. We played a couple of bars in it, I think, at this point, you know. And I think I only started it must have been the start of 2012, because I was in Afghanistan in 2010, and then 2011 I come out. I did like a year in the fitness industry and then found music quite quickly and transitioned. And I'm sort of an all or nothing guy. I really put a lot of into it. And because I'd just come out of the military as well, I was super disciplined. I was really hardworking. And I just took all that and put it into drugs, partying, and music. Okay. So I think this is how it transitioned all, you know, so quickly. Like on the actual timeline of things, it literally went from me going to Corolla, starting to after partying, to then getting a set of decks and mixing and playing out within probably, you know, the space of a year. But we got this opportunity to do the competition in Vauxhall, and we went, and loads of friends come down. It was really, really good, and because we already had a little niche on our sound, like we already knew the style that we was into, it was a little different than what everyone else was playing. I think it stood out. And the guy messaged us the day after. He's like, look, there's a slot at Egg on Friday night in a loft. Do you want to come play? And we were like, whoa, couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? It was unbelievable at the time. And it was ticket selling. So, you know, we'd come, he was like a sub promoter of the club. And, you know, we sold the tickets for like 15. You'd keep 5, you'd give him 10 back, but then you got the opportunity to play. So we were like 100%. So we went, I think it was November. I can't remember the exact date, and we went and we played and we smashed it. We sold like 50 tickets, like all our friends come, like everyone from Southend come, and it went really well. And he was like, look, we can ask you back. There's another set for New Year's Eve. And we were like, couldn't. At this point, we was like, wow, we've made it. And then. I mean, from November till New Year's Eve, it's not a long time, but I think I must have played the decks, you know, every single night I was up on them things. And then
yeah, that's what it's like when you first get
just loving
obsessive.
it, man. Obsessive, man. You know, on CDs as well. So it was like,
yeah, I remember burning CDs, writing all the track names.
Yeah, and then after an after party, it's all waking up and all the CDs were in different.
I
was like, fuck,
and they're all scratched up.
Yeah, but we got asked to do it again, and we did, and the same thing happened. Like, sold 50 tickets, which for at the time was a lot of tickets for someone to come who's playing to sell tickets to sell, so we stood out from that, and then we stood out for our music. But then on New Year's Eve, 2 other DJs didn't turn up, so we ended up playing a 3-hour set. And at the time, Hans Hess, who was like the main promoter for actual Egg, he was there and he watched it, and he started speaking to my brother. My brother is like, especially when he used to get on it, he would just talk to everyone, like the whole club, or anyone there, where I was a bit more reserved. I was a bit more just doing loads of lines, not really interested. But that was great to start with, because I'd just leave Liam to it. I'd come back. He's like, I spoke to this promoter who works at Egg all night. He's like, he's going to get us another slot. And then after that, we just fully committed to Egg. We were going to Egg every single weekend.
That was your club?
Yeah, like that was it. Like, even before they started putting us on, we just started showing our face, turning up, being at every party we could, like getting the last train from Southend to London, then the first train back on like a Friday, and then that got noticed, basically.
Would you say that's a bit of a strat? Like, looking back, that was almost like a unthought about strategy?
I think so, yeah. I mean, at the time, I'd never really experienced the club scene like that. I spent 4 years in the military. I had like a challenging upbringing that wasn't like very socially inclusive to things like this. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it was something completely new. So it wasn't that. I think I was just so like open to it,
Excited by it.
Yeah, excited by it, absolutely. Yeah. But for sure, it is a strategy.
Seems like that focus of being like, right, we're committed to Egg. We're going to spend as much time as we can, like, making the most out of this situation.
Exactly.
And actually turned out to be like...
Well, it turned out to be, the sort of making of our career. But also it was the first club that gave us the opportunity, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I loved Egg. It was fucking great, man. They had some... at the time, 2012, they had some really solid lineups on, and... you go through. I feel like you go through a transition in DJing. When you first start, you're just happy to be involved. Then you go through this snobbery almost, like, which you'll talk about. But I can't go there because he's playing, or I can't play that song because it's on this label, sort of thing. And then it's gone full circle for me now, because now I just like what I like. But anyway, so then we started going a lot, and we had that opportunity. And it sort of come at the perfect timing. My boss said to me, "Look, you can't keep coming in on a Monday, stinking of shit, still tired from the night over when you're working." At the time, I was a health and fitness advisor for Essex University.
Right. Yeah. So you were in the gym, or were you in the gym, or were you at the office?
Bit of both. I was, but I just had no interest in it. Like, you could see that when I was on the computer, all I was doing was just sending people mixes on Facebook. So he said, "Look, Sean, you said, look, I love you, mate, but you've got to make the decision." At the same time, Hans said to us at Egg, he said, "Look, if you want to make this work, you got to move to London." So we were like, that was it. Boom.
So it was a bit of a catalyst moment.
Yeah. But
in that 1 week, or
it literally
usually is
like
quick,
we literally within, I think it must have been within 2 weeks. Like, we'd already found somewhere. We'd gone. Like, that was it. Picked up, packed up, and
what
gone.
was that like?
Fucking wild. We did an after party at my house. Bearing in mind, like, Liam first of all went to look at this place in London in Brick Lane, and he was like, "Yeah, it's sweet." So I was like, "Yeah, whatever." I wasn't even that bothered about what it was like. I just wanted to go. So we had this after party. My place in Southend, 2-bed flat we had, and it was wild. I still up on the decks. It was like me, Liam, couple of birds, like a couple of other people splattered about somewhere. And I had a phone call. I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" He was like, "Oh, I'm outside with a van now." I was like, "Shit." It's the guy. It was like my mate's dad who, like, come and picked us up with a van, and we were off our head. to move.
To move your stuff.
Yeah.
Oh dear. So you're in the apartment and nothing was set up. You just brought the decks.
Well, no. So this was to move. So we'd like boxed everything up, but I thought it was like the day after we were going to move, and I was still up partying Fox, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm outside. Let's go now. We're gonna." Do you know? I remember just sat in the front of that van. It was like me, this other girl sat in the front, Liam in the back with some other girl. All the stuff just crammed in off her head, like still chewing my head off. And just my mate's dad sat in the front. I remember sat there, but I don't remember what the conversation was like. Anyway. So we moved, got to Brick Lane, and we just moved into a house share. So I tried to cram a 2-bed flat into a house share room. Me and my brother were just sharing a room. It was like 2 single beds. I was like, what have I got myself into? But
you just rented a room?
Yeah.
I thought you rented a flat.
Nah. So we moved from a flat in Southend with like just no intention, basically. It was just like, let's see what happens. And like, we didn't have any jobs lined up. We just were... I think at that point I was like, this is happening. We're going to make something of this.
Okay, so there was like a knowing and intention, like...
Yeah, it was just all or nothing. Literally, all or nothing.
Yeah.
And it was wild. That first year, living down Brick Lane, we started playing at Egg on a consistent basis. It was like every Friday. Then we started as residents. Then we started as like a sub promoter. So we would bring in other DJs. So we would they would give us like 2 rooms to run, and we'd basically bring in people like ourselves who were like selling the tickets.
So you're programming.
Yeah. But it was good because we started making some all right money from it, and we were like, it was a bit surreal because then all the up and coming DJs who wanted to play were like messaging me and Liam because they knew we were getting gigs at Egg. And room 2 at Egg is, the rooms are decent. Like when that club's busy, it is a sick venue. Do you know what I mean? It really is. And then we started to play down on the Saturdays, and then we got a job in the office, and it sort of went from there. But at the time, this is where my partying went from zero. From like the military to, it was so fucking crazy. It was like 3 or 4 times a week. Like we would go to Egg on a Friday, probably not. We'd leave, carry on through, go back on a Saturday, carry on through, and then it would be like Monday morning, and then we might do a little midweeker in Shoreditch, and it would just repeat that.
How long were you doing that for?
Well, we were at Egg for 4 years basically.
Okay, so a big stint.
Yeah, but this is like, I think the first year was fantastic. It was all surreal, and then we started to realize we had to produce music, and then we started getting like noticed a little bit more internationally, but not because the fact that we were like super talented producers. I think it was more for the fact that a lot of people knew that we were known for Egg. So when DJs used to come to Egg, like we'd always be there. So at the time when they had like who did they have on consistently, like Ramper, Adam Port, people like that, they
when
used
they
to
were
have,
up and coming.
Yeah, they used to have some really cool lineups on at Egg, and we were always, not that we were doing the bookings, but we were known for being at Egg. So
that's really interesting. Yeah, so that you kind of staying there and committing to that club, firstly as just like going there and then just trying to get a little gig in the second room, and then just kind of being consistent, led to this whole network
absolutely
being created.
Yeah, and I think that's so important for like any up and coming artist. Like, maybe the dynamics changed a little bit now with social media, but at the time it's not like we're going back 20 years or something, but I suppose it is like 12 years ago now. Jeez.
It is different.
It's like the scene was. It wasn't. Social media wasn't a thing. Like we weren't. Facebook.
But all those people are still present. Rampa, Adam Port. Yeah.
Oh man, they're all massive now. Yeah.
But they once weren't.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there's loads of artists that used to play at Egg that were just coming up who are huge. Like I used to play with like Michael Bibby. The first gig I ever had at Egg without being on a promoter, Michael Bibby was in room 2 at Egg. Like, do you know what I mean? That just shows
Real
like
talk,
like the graft. But people don't see that.
No.
But I mean, for up and coming artists now, I think the dynamic has changed a little bit in terms of the social media platform is much more present. Like back then, you had to just be a part of the scene. You had to create something.
You had to really be in it.
You had to be in it. You know what I mean? Like you had to be out and about. Like, I don't know if it's again. I don't know if it's lost it a little bit now, but for us, that was what we was about. We was about Egg. Like, we wanted to be there and be present and show a face and turn up and party, first in, last out every time. Really get into the scene and be a part of that. And it was great. And we didn't produce any music neither at the time, so I think that's
really cool that you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, again, I think it was, if we had come through now, it would be completely different, because we'd either have to have, I feel, a bigger presence on social media, or you've got to be doing some production. So that.
But you say that, but then often a lot of people are still wondering where their next gig is. A lot of people make great music.
Yeah.
But then they don't get gigs.
Yeah.
And so what's really interesting about what you did, and how I think it's still an interesting, even though you said it wasn't an intentional strategy. It's not like you woke up and like, right, this is what we're going to do to get X.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are trying to strategize everything so much.
Yeah.
But you kind of you sought to get depth with one particular place.
Yeah.
And then that actually became the route that then expanded and gave you everything else.
Absolutely.
Whereas sometimes what social media does in context of being a DJ is it makes you think that you need lots of width, so to play everywhere and to release everywhere, when actually I think what you've kind of spoke to is this idea of that depth and that commitment to one place allowed you to build that network and that sort of reliability for maybe other promoters in different countries or other promoters in London. When you started expanding out, that you could do it, that you'd sell tickets and things like this.
It's funny you say that as well, actually, because I think that was our downfall, was then losing that commitment to just one channel. Do you know what I mean?
Really?
It was like trying to be more widespread with our music, especially when we come into production. Like,
what happened then?
So I'll come into it, because then what basically with Egg, we sort of run our course there, and we started going to Berlin. And
what year was this?
This was I need a timeline here. I think it was 2017 when I first started going to Berlin. Basically, I really started getting into like Apollonia. Was like, they were my absolute favourites. Like, that's like
they still are.
They're so sick, man. Diad Soundroom is just the coolest guy. And
I met him.
Have you?
That was like a proper fanboy, man.
Yeah, he's
like a don.
He's sick. But then we started getting into like the German house sound. It was like, at the time it was Bestes Modus, so it was like Diego Kraus, Symphy, Nick Beringer.
Solid.
Yeah, like that. But they were all playing records and releasing on records, and we didn't know them. So me and Liam were like, look, we got to start playing records here, because we can't get this music. Like, we want to up our game in terms of the tracks that we want to play, but these are all on records. So we bought some turntables and started to learn vinyl, and then once we started doing that, we started playing records out a little bit more, and that gave us a little bit more credibility with the sound that we was into. And then we got I went to Berlin for the first time as well with one of my ex-military friends, Pete, actually, and I come back and I was blown away by it. Just the scene, the people there, the culture, the clubs, like how the clubs run out there it's a
different level. Huh?
It's next level. So I come back, I was like, Liam, Berlin, that's it. Like, this is where we need to be. Like, the music there, it gives me goosebumps talking about it now, because just the music was so fitted with what we were about, and we felt that how our journey started was really fitting for Berlin as well. And we got a chance to help on one of the programs for Egg, and we got Shonky, Symphy, and who else was it? Was it Diego Kraus as well? And they all come down
to London.
Yeah. And it's funny actually, because we warmed up for Shonky, and I thought, right, he was coming in next. I thought, right, I'm going to play a record. And at this time, I was all right at playing records. And it was, what was it? It was a Mandar track, I think. I can't remember. I'll have to, it's My brain's gone dead. Anyway, sick tune, yeah. And I put it on, and I was like, here we go. I went to mix it in. Shonky stood in. I just clanged the fuck out of it. And he must have thought, who is this guy? Anyway, but we had a sick night. I was speaking to Symphy loads. Like, I absolutely love.
She's
like,
great.
She
runs a record store in Berlin.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
There. It's really cool.
Well, we ended up doing a record label with Symphy called We Are House.
No way.
Yeah. Well, I'll come into that.
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
so I was blown away by Best of Motors. Thought it was so cool. Like Diego Kraus, that Unison Wax label that he did. Like I think it's number 2, the green one was still one of my favorite records, and I really got along with Symphy, and we were vibing with her, and then Diego and Ed come back to mine for an after party, and at mine, like everyone that was there, about 4 people had Unison Wax, Diego Kraus, and we were like chanting Kraus in the house, and we just kept on playing this record. It was the sickest night, man. But after that, then that was it. I've just thought, Berlin's the next place. I'd sort of run our road with Egg because my partying was getting a bit out of control at this point, and we weren't really giving him anything more. Do you know what I mean? Like we ran the radio with him. That it didn't really go to plan, and we were in the office, but we weren't really contributing, and it was
you hit
like,
the ceiling. Yeah,
it was like the perfect moment for us. And Symphy said, I remember she said the same thing that Hans did. She was like, look, if you want to make it work over here, come. And she got us a gig at Griesmuller, and it was the sickest gig I've ever played. It was just everything about it was meant. The music, like I think was it Sobam playing as well.
Ooh,
yeah,
nice.
it was sick. But that was it then, and then we did the same. We just Ed Herbs from Best of Modus. He's like, look, my apartment is available for 3 months. You can come and move in if you want. So me and Liam just fucked everything off, and literally within a week we went to Berlin, and we moved there. And we moved into Ed's place. There was like nothing in this. It was like a studio apartment. There wasn't even a bed. We had to get like a blow up bed. It's crazy, man. And then like Symphy started taking us on under a wing. We got onto the Watergate agency. Like we started going to Watergate all the time.
Watergate's an amazing club, man.
That is the sickest club.
It's got the best vibe.
Just some of the Wednesday. They used to do Wednesday nights there all the time, and they used to have some really cool. Like it'd be like 3 artists on every Wednesday, and it'd be like I don't know, DeWalter or something. It's sick. Anyway, we used to go all the time, and Symphy got us in there. She got us on the agency. We got one of these keys, yeah. When you go onto Watergate, you get like this little key ring, which means that you're part of the family, and all you'd have to do is you go to Watergate, show that at the door any night, and you get in for free with whoever you are.
Oh,
yeah, and I abused that to fucking.
So, that's definitely a golden ticket.
It was, but then this was the problem. We were producing at this point. We set up a label called We Are House with Symphy, and we did the first release on that, which went really well. And we were really getting noticed in Berlin, but then at the same time, I was really suffering with my drug abuse and my drinking. I wasn't doing any fitness. I had no money, no savings. Like it was all or nothing every week, and that really started to take a toll because it started to affect my relationships. Like me and Symphy fell out basically just because of my attitude and my ego. And she'd give us access to the studio. Her studio, which she was paying for, and I'd just take the piss. I'd just go there and have after parties and wouldn't pay for anything. And at the time, looking back, I thought it was her fault. It was everyone else's fault. It was never my fault, but it was always my fault, And then because of that, then Watergate pulled us off. They were like, "Look, we can't have you." And at the time, I was like, "Fuck, man."
So it started coming down.
It started coming down, but then Piv took us on. So then we did we met Niels. This is at the time when it was Chris Stussy and Prunk running the label. I think it was my brother met Prunk, and them two just got along massively. And they started to put us on in Amsterdam quite a bit. And I can't actually remember how we met, but anyway, we ended up doing the first Piv release, Piv 01 on the vinyl. With Nick Berringer did a remix.
Piv release.
The first on vinyl, the first vinyl Piv release.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah, and I love that release so much. But this is where it started getting difficult for us because First of my drug, I was using drugs all the time, like cocaine. Like
That
was my thing, and
it can be that's the one for a lot of people.
yeah, it's
That and alcohol.
It's horrible drug. Man.
It's so easy to do. It's so effortless.
Yeah,
And
of
you're
course.
like, oh, it's just there, and then it just has all these.
Negative effect, and the problem was because my passion wasn't music originally, it was more just the scene and the party. I found it really difficult to do anything sober within that. Making music I couldn't do sober. Going to any party or event, I had to be getting on it, and
Why do you think that is?
because when we first started getting into music, it was about the party, and it wasn't about
The business.
yeah, it wasn't about the business or being a DJ. It was just like, yeah, fucking we're out here listening to music and getting on it basically. But at the time I didn't realise that. So obviously when we moved to Berlin, I had a heavy drug problem anyway. But it was sort of masked because it was just part of our persona as the Willers brothers, or every time you'd go out, you'd go to different, we were playing every weekend at this point, and you'd go and you'd meet different people every time. So no one knew you had a problem. They'd just be like, yeah, Willers brothers, it's party time. Yeah, it'd be a big party. But then obviously I had to go back. Me and Liam were falling out. All the business side of things was going to shit because there was no strategy. We got kicked off of Watergate, then we got kicked off of PIV.
Okay.
Same thing, just, it was just too wild,
Too wild.
Yeah. And not in a good way, just in a fucking who's this idiot way. And then and then this is when it really started getting difficult because we went on to PIV. PIV's sound, they've got such a unique sound, which isn't our sound. Like if you listen to the PIV release, the first one we did, it was our sound. It's not the sound that PIV is known for, but we were chasing their sound then and started to lose our what's the word I'm looking for here? We were losing our own vision, basically. We were losing what we really liked as artists.
What you stood for.
Yeah, like what's the word?
Well, it's identity, I guess.
That's it. Yeah. We lost our integrity with our own sound.
The creative flair.
Yeah, and then because I was using in the studio, that then become the only thing I could do in the studio. Was as long as I did, a bit of gear, I'd be all right. But then obviously that caused the problem. Creatively, we were chasing something that wasn't our sound, so then we weren't enjoying it.
What do you mean by that? Chasing labels that you thought
we were chasing labels. Before when we were making music, we were just when we was in London, we had a studio down Brick Lane opposite 93 Feet East. They've got like 2 studios in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We started making music. When we were making music in there, we were doing it because we loved it. When we first moved to Berlin, we were making music because we had, we just loved doing it at the time. But
so it was all coming from source, so to speak.
Yeah, but
there was no I need to make tunes to get on that.
Exactly.
Or to move that direction.
Yeah. But then when that started to happen, like once PIV happened, because at this point we were clutching on straws for who we could work with as on labels. We started to fall out with so many people. We were living in Germany. We needed the money from the gigs. So we almost felt that we had to make music for labels to, because you thought they're going to get you the gigs. But what we didn't realize at the time is that was making our music, we were losing our integrity with our music, with our sound, which meant that the music we were making was worse. And we weren't enjoying it, and I was using more drugs, and me and Liam were falling out. So it was all this stuff going on in the background.
Cycle.
Yeah, and it was getting worse and worse and worse. And I couldn't hold down an apartment in Berlin because I kept getting kicked out of them. But then getting an apartment in Berlin is a nightmare anyway. And then and that was, I think it was a real shame because that first year in Berlin, like we felt a part of it. You've been to Berlin.
Yeah,
it's fucking mint. Like the scene, the
the
culture there is incredible, and we were a part of that. We were going to Berghain and getting on the guest
being
list.
Being with Cynthia is,
it was sick.
She's rooted. I
think she's mint. I always remember what she said as well.
Person.
she's got such a she's such a hard worker.
Yes.
And I remember she actually said, she's like, one day I will play in Panorama Bar, and she, now she's like doing it all the time, and that was just from her work ethic. It's a shame that we fell out actually about that.
Have you made up?
Nah, I did reach out to her, but yeah, she. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, she's busy and she ain't got time for that. But anyway, she's fantastic. But that gave us the opportunity, and we felt a part of the scene then, and it was so cool, like just to be a part of the scene in Berlin. But yeah, we sort of lost that, and then COVID happened, and
so this was all the way up until 2019.
I've gone a long way here, haven't I?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, it was like from our journey from Egg to Berlin. It was just like the sort of natural progression. And we started to make music, we started to get on labels, we started to network.
The general involvement of it.
Yeah. But then the downhill was from drink and drugs and partying and not looking after myself, and then COVID happened, and that sort of couldn't have come at a better time, because I don't even think we was on an agency at this point. Like, we weren't really getting any. We were playing any gig we could get.
That's when your creative integrity starts to take a side step.
Yeah, and again, it's so difficult because you want to play all the gigs, at the start, but then it's funny how the politics work in gigs, and then it comes to the point where we just needed to take anything, But then when COVID happened, lost everything, all the gigs, everyone left, and sort of put me in a position where I got to step back and see the situation that I was in, and it was a bad one. We weren't going anywhere with our career. Me and Liam weren't really getting along too well. Didn't have any sort of friends to speak of in the industry because I'd burnt so many bridges. Do you know what I mean? We're losing respect. Our music wasn't, it was all ticking all the boxes. And I just wasn't enjoying it as well, and Liam wasn't. So when that happened, this was an opportunity to start working on myself again, and actually working on what was important, which was the relationship between me and Liam and my health, and doing something that I actually enjoy, taking time to do what's good for me, not just do it for the sake of it, or because I was stuck in that cycle. And I think this is the thing with the industry sometimes. It's like so many people are scared to walk away because you never know. They could always be round the corner. You could just make it. You could not make it because you never quite make it. You always want to go up another level, but
it's a hard thing to know what the top is.
Exactly. There isn't one, is there?
There's non-linear. There's no CEO role at the top.
Because you always want to go up. You get to a level. Because this is the thing, is like, okay, we weren't massive, right? For sure. But where we were, people probably dream about that. And where I was when I started.
Well, where you felt at the time was still not enough.
Yeah.
Well, this is a cycle, isn't it?
Yeah. And then you look at like a lot of the people we were coming up with at the time as well. Like, they're absolutely flying now, but then you don't see that they've put in another 10 years of work prior to.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then that happened, and it forced the hand. I had to get a job, which was at Amazon, night shifts, because it was the only. Because I didn't learn any German, because I was like, I don't need this. I'm a DJ, but I fucking did, and I had to take a job because I had no money, and it was night shifts. But in hindsight, it was fantastic because it gave me a routine again. It gave me a bit of structure. I was moving my body again. I started to just be more aware of like what I was doing basically.
What was that like then, going to Amazon? It sounds like, although on the face of it you could see that at the time as like, wow, like this is where I'm at.
Yeah, it was depressing at first.
But maybe that was kind of like a bit of a rehab.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, at first it was depressing, man, because I was like, I was a DJ before, now I'm like working at Amazon. I was like, I'm going to be one of them guys that like be telling everyone, it's like, I'm just doing this as a stopgap. As soon as the lights are on, I'm back DJing again. But really, it wasn't anyway, because if COVID didn't happen, my career would have just, God knows.
Maybe
where
it would have
ended
been
up.
almost dangerous.
It would have been, yeah, absolutely. It would have been very, very dangerous because there was no out for us at that point.
I think COVID for everyone around the world, specifically in this scene, was a bit of a pause, rethink business models, rethink what you're doing.
Yeah,
because so much came from that.
Absolutely,
especially in like music education and sharing knowledge, and lots of people started to think, well, how else can I do this? How else can I make this work?
Yeah,
that's where you saw this massive rise of online communities and masterclasses and production tuition, and it's sort of being less about this is my music knowledge, I'm not giving you any of it, to I'm going to start sharing this now because it's valuable.
Absolutely.
It's like another way to value the skills that you're getting as you go through this journey of being a producer.
And I think it's super important. That I think, looking back now in hindsight, I wish I'd taken. I remember Mark Knight saying to me, actually, that's what I said to you before. It's like, it is a music business, and not once in my career did I ever think, this is a job for me. I was like, yeah, it's party time, sort of thing, and that obviously was the downfall of my career, because I think with the opportunity, like looking back now, the opportunities that I had, the people that we were speaking to on a regular basis, seeing where they are now, if I had my head in the game, if I was taking time to, spend money on production and more equipment, or taking time to look at it as a business model and just network properly, not just going out and getting fucked up, then we could have done, we probably could have done miles better than we did. In fact, I know we could, because really we got, I got to play, Watergate. We got on the Watergate agency from the back of just grafting, really. Do you know what I mean? Like if there was some strategy in place and some actual business mindset, then for sure we would have been able to take it, much further. And not only that, keeping on top of my health and fitness, because once I started with Amazon, I started to feel that change again of the benefits of looking after yourself mentally and physically. It was a nice feeling again. It'd been quite a long time. So, and then that was Amazon. Then I'm trying to think what year this was.
So how long were you at Amazon for?
Excuse me. So Amazon, I couldn't say, but this went until July 2021, because then that was it. Then we decided that we were going to move from Berlin, me and Liam. I just needed to save enough money to be able to get somewhere to move back. And that's, with Amazon, because I was still partying, I was still going out, but it was, it wasn't close to the amount that it was. I was able to save a lot of money. Not a lot. I mean, a few grand, just enough to pay for a deposit, basically, to get back. And then that was it. But then at the time, I was still producing. I was still going in the studio. My brother, he sort of wasn't interested at this point at all.
He just fell out of love with it.
He just wasn't for him now. But for me, I still wanted it a little bit. There was something inside of me. I thought, we've come this far. We're so close. If I just get my head straight and try it again, but with with a new mindset, then I'll be able to do it. And at the time, then we was talking to a lot to Darius Syrossian, which again, it was never my sound. That, do you know what I mean? Like, we were speaking about Moxie, and just he's done amazing things. Like he's smashed it on it. You know what I mean? He's fantastic, but still, it wasn't my sound's always been that sort of minimal sound. You know what I mean? Like the old Apollonia. That was always what I was into. Like even now when I listen to like house music on SoundCloud, it's always a Rapu or something like that. It's never, it's never any. It's not like Michael Bibi or Syrossian and stuff. I don't really listen to that sort of stuff. Anyway, so we were talking with him.
That's fine. No, you
yeah. So, but this is again. I think this is why it would have never have worked, because I still wasn't.
Did you ever think about doing it on your own?
So what happened is that we then started speaking with Darius. We were going to do stuff with him on Moxie. We were going to start playing with him, and he put us in touch with David Oyston, who I'd known for years anyway, when he used to run Air London, because we knew him through, like, Nick Curley used to come to Egg all the time. And I think David Oyston's, like, I really love everything that he'd done with all the agencies. It was always something that I wanted to be a part of. And we started talking. He put us on Constant Talent Agency.
Oh yeah,
yeah, which was really cool. There's some fantastic artists on there, like Lauren Lowe Song, who I know from the Egg days. Is absolutely, she absolutely smashed it. So it was really exciting. So he put us on with James, and we had like a lineup of shows in England. So we had like 10 shows lined up.
As the Brothers again.
So this July,
Berlin.
after Berlin. So the idea is we move back and we start. James had all these gigs. I think we had 93 Feet East with Moxie. We had 10 shows, and then we had a tour of Australia with Sash that was planned prior to COVID, but never went ahead because I was always fucking up with agencies basically. But we'd done like a live stream for him over COVID and stuff. So we still had that connection. I love what Sash had always done. And they set us up with a tour of New Zealand. So I was like, this is it, man. It's back on. And then the idea was I was going to try and do it sober, because I wasn't sober at this point, but I knew.
So it's post-COVID.
This is just like when it started to open up again. Like Berlin, there was a couple of parties that we started playing again, but we already knew we were moving. And we were going to do it sober was the idea for me, because I knew I couldn't go back and start drinking at gigs again.
Oh, so during COVID, you did actually come into this sobriety phase, even though you're still in the music game.
It wasn't. No, it wasn't sobriety. It was just that I knew
to be more sober.
I knew I had a bad problem. Basically, it made me recognise that. So I was still drinking and partying, but it just wasn't as much. But the idea in my head was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to be able to go back and party all the time, because it's just going to end up back where it was. So we moved back in July 2021, and then James rang us. He's like, look, shows confirmed, Australia's confirmed, and we were in Bournemouth at the time, because we moved back to Southampton, because I didn't want to be in London, because I knew that was dangerous for me, but I knew a couple of people in Southampton, so we ended up there randomly. Was it? Yeah. I'd never even been there before, but we just moved. And again, we managed to. It's lucky I managed to save enough money, because none of the estate agents would take us on, because I'd no work history and no job lined up.
Yeah,
so
obviously
so we had
risky.
so we had to pay. We found a place. He's like, look, you pay us X. I think like 6 months up front. We'll let you have the place, and we did it. And then we was in Bournemouth anyway, and James rang me. He's like, yeah, we got all this. I was like, yes. Turned around to Liam. I was like, we're going to Australia. He's like, couldn't care less, mate. I'm not doing any of it. I'm out. And I was like,
no way. What, when you got to Southampton together?
Yeah. Like, he'd already, I think we just hadn't had that conversation.
Oh, so was it you getting all this together?
Yeah, it was me. Yeah, Liam.
Oh,
Liam
right.
he'd fallen out of it for years. It was me sort of pushing it on. I think Liam was just sort of. I think if it was up to him, he would have quit years before that. But he was just sort of hanging on to it for me, I think.
That's
you know
nice,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, it was, man. And I think, again, not many people are brave enough to make the decision that Liam did like he did. Like, he was just like, nah, this isn't for me anymore. If we just said we got 10 shows, tour of Australia, people dream about this. Do you know what I mean? Liam was like, nah, not for me. It's not what I want in my life
powerful,
anymore.
Yeah.
Massive, because I know loads of DJs who still now aren't, they've still not made that decision when they should have years ago.
Oh yeah, I
you know what I'm
hear
saying?
about that. Yeah, and some really really big acts as well. And
of course, of course.
Okay, you actually don't. Enjoy it, but they actually
don't
want
enjoy.
out.
They don't enjoy it. They're partying every week and they're doing drugs, but they just keep doing it. Or on the other end, where they're just washed up and should have quit years ago, but they just don't commit to it. Whereas Liam was like, that was it. So I said to James, look, we're going to do it. He's like, don't worry, we'll bill it as the Willers Brothers. We'll think about it. We'll come to that like when we need to. And then and that was it. In my head, I was going to do it all sober, and I had the first gig 25th of July 2021 in Nottingham. Excuse me. And I made up some bullshit and said that Liam couldn't make it. So I got there, not going to drink, doing it sober. got there, they had like a cardboard cutout of Liam, which was quite funny. Super nice guys. But anyway, I went, did the gig, super awkward, stood around waiting for it, weren't particularly busy. It was all right, but it wasn't anything special. Not drinking. Actually, I'll go on, I'll have one drink. Next thing I know, I'm fucking necking drinks, doing gear.
It's so easy.
Ended up in hospital.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I've got like this scar here. I posted a picture on it on my Instagram actually today because it's been 3 years today. I woke up in hospital. Apparently I got picked up. I was unconscious. Like big gash here, black eye, loads of cocaine in my system. Like completely fucked. Like when I woke up, I didn't even know where I was. Being dead aggressive to everything. It was shit. It was horrible. Really, really, really emotional time. And I sort of like rang my dad. I was like crying my eyes out. I was like, what the fuck? And that was like my dad sort of told me, you know what you got to do, man. Like this is it. You can't keep this up. So next day I rang my agent and I told everyone, told Darius. And what I actually noticed is that like, people don't really give a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like there was no.
Oh really?
No one cared.
It's your journey, man.
There's no. This is the problem in it. There's no support system. Like no one's like.
Not in our scene.
Nah. Not. I don't think there is in the music industry. Like I think this is what you said there about people through COVID pretended. I think a lot of there is some fantastic things there, that are coming through, and there are some good platforms. But the majority of people don't really care. They're on their own journey. They want their own thing. I think through COVID, people pretended like there's a bit of community going on and everyone cares about each other. But gradually, it's going and going and going and going. And for me. Maybe it's just because no one fucking liked us anyway, but there wasn't like any, how you doing? Do you know what I mean? Like, why is this? Is there any way we can help and support it? Like, obviously for the agency, they'd just lost a lot of money. That's all they cared about. The rest of them, fuck it, we're just, there'll be someone else sort of to come in and fill your place. And I think...
yeah, so just to rewind on that, when your brother said no, you had to go turn everything down?
Nah, so when he said no, we carried on the bookings, but
you did it.
Yeah, I was going to do them, but I did the first one in Nottingham
on your own,
on my own, and fucked up, and then that's when I had to cancel everything.
Why do you think it was different? Because you're on your own.
Well, it would have happened if Liam was there anyway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if Liam was there or not, like that's why Liam didn't want to do the gigs anymore
because he knew that side of both of you.
Because it's just what happens every time, and it just wasn't worth it. But even when we sort of mentioned, to the agency, Liam isn't doing it. There's no cause for concern ever. I feel like there was never any cause for concern in terms of like, well, why isn't he doing this? Like, do you want some help? Anyone we can speak to?
That's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, no, it's just like, fuck it, we'll just bill it without you.
Yeah. There's sort of like like toss you aside.
Yeah. And I get it, because that's what agencies aren't there to, to
be a mental health support.
Yeah, exactly. But, even with management, is that really the job? But I think this is why it's so.
I would say it's part of it.
It should be.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's your asset.
Yeah, I mean,
you protect your asset, right?
Exactly. But there's no cause for concern there, and I think that's what I've really noticed in the industry. I think maybe because I burnt so many bridges throughout my time, but no one really ever reached out. Apart from a couple of people, like Prunk definitely did from Piv, but no one really cares. Do you know what I mean? And I think there's two ways to look at that. First of all, like, most importantly, as an up-and-coming artist, make sure you've got some sort of handle on your health and fitness, for sure. If you've got a drug problem, you've got to notice that yourself at the end of the day, and you've got to get a hold of that early on, because no one cares, And secondly, no one does care. So just do what you think's right for you. Don't worry about what anyone else is thinking about. Yeah, so that was the end of my career, my DJ career there 3 years ago.
After that phone call with your dad,
that was it.
Yeah.
Quit, cancelled everything.
Then like what was?
Yeah, so I had like a strange period then of like trying to rediscover who I was.
Oh wow!
Do you know what I mean?
Powerful place.
Yeah, I was like, wow, like I've just been doing drugs for 10 years. Like, just
Drugs
do
and-
whatever I want. Like,
Drugs and house music.
I actually, I was thinking about that. Like, what the fuck was my routine like? Like, what? I don't even remember what I did. I don't remember. People ask me, some people message me like, oh, I'm going to Berlin this weekend. I know you live there. Like, where's good to eat? And I'm like, where is good to eat in Berlin? Like, I can tell you where to get drugs. But then just little things like going to IKEA started to be fun again. You know, having routine, consistency, and I knew, because all my qualifications were in the fitness industry, I knew that was really where I wanted to go back into, but I didn't know in what capacity, because I still weren't in, great shape myself. I still had a fucking problem with drugs and alcohol. Clearly, that's why I just had to end my career, and going sober or going alcohol free and changing your whole life isn't as easy as just saying it. There's a lot of work to be done, which is great and beautiful. And, I'm so privileged to be where I am now. But this is another thing. If anyone listening is thinking about making a change in their life, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of hard work.
What are the key elements that you need?
So,
in the context of being a DJ as well,
I think
who still wants to be one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can't just say, well, get out of it.
No. Yeah, of course. Like, I think that's a good point. You can't. It's not just about getting out of it. I think it's about having. I mean, if you look at a lot of the top guys now, a lot of the up and coming guys, from what I can see, they all seem to be pretty on it with a routine. And I think having a solid routine, a solid foundation, so certain things that you do on a daily basis. For me, it was about fasting was my first one that I did, because that gave me a sense of self-control. For so long, I felt out of control. And I used to go to NA and AA and therapy, and they always used to say the same thing: you're not in control, you're not in power, it's drugs, you're a drug addict. I mean, Alcoholics Anonymous, it does work for a lot of people, and it's a fantastic platform. But for me, just going in there and saying I'm an alcoholic seemed like...
Wasn't kicking it for you.
I was like, is this it forever now? I've just got to open up with that. Whereas fasting gave me a bit more self-control and discipline again. And I think discipline is...
I think it must come from self-sourced. Like, you must source it from yourself.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
You're the one in the reality.
Of course, exactly. You're the one making the decisions. And I think fitness as well, because a lot of the time when I was out DJing, I only felt comfortable when I was drinking and doing drugs in situations. Now, one of the reasons why is because that's what I was used to. But I think second of all was just that I wasn't really happy with the way I looked and felt on a regular basis, and I wanted to act like I was Mr. Cool, with a mustache in Berlin with like this cool ego, but it wasn't really. It's just because I was depressed. I wasn't happy. Like I don't remember, I woke up, I looked like shit. I wasn't doing anything for myself. There was no self-care there at all. So drugs helped me mask that. And I think when you start going through a transformation, like physically, when you're happy with the way you look, first of all, only you can do that. Anyone who's in good shape, they've put in the work. It doesn't mean you can have the best coach. You could join Willers Fitness, fantastic platform, which we'll talk about. But nevertheless, you still got to do the work, and that comes with two things. First of all, looking good is great anyway. I don't care who you are. If there was a pill, which I'm sure there will be soon, to say, right, you can look however you want. Everyone would look great. No one's going to look out of shape. And so that's just nice anyway. But secondly, it gives you a sense of confidence because you've put in the work to do that. And I think having that self-belief and confidence in who you are helps when you're in situations where you don't know anyone, or it can be a little uncomfortable. Going to... people don't really, if you've never been a DJ and traveled, like, okay, we traveled quite a lot. I mean, obviously we know fucking Jamie Jones, but we every weekend we were meeting new people, going to artist dinners, going to a club where you don't know anyone. Like, I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to do it with my brother. But if not, you've got to make sure that you're confident enough with who you are. And there's two ways you can go about it: mask up with drink or drugs, which I did, or just work on yourself.
Are you talking a little bit about social anxiety a little bit there?
I think
because we all feel a tinge of
absolutely.
that. Everyone, yeah.
Of course. But again, I think
that's kind of my belief is that that's why everyone's doing drink and drugs at the rave, because we're all just a bit socially anxious.
Yeah, right, exactly. But now I am sober, and I can, I've gone out.
I've seen it. Yeah,
I
you
go
can be
out.
there in your,
I can
in
go
your
out.
truth, in your.
No, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I don't stay out till 5 o'clock in the morning anymore because I don't see the point. But still, I can go out. I can speak to people in public at parties and go there on a regular basis without a single drop of alcohol. And the reason why that is now is because I'm just more confident with who I am, and I'm also more aware as well. Like if I don't feel it's the right situation for me, I don't have to be there. If I am tired, I'm a bit bored, I don't have to stay there anymore, Okay, I'm not in the industry, but nevertheless, like, I think it just comes with being more confident. So fasting for self-control, fitness, like doing some sort of physical activity, making sure that you're happy with the way you look and feel. Again, it doesn't mean you have to have, big muscles and a six-pack, but it just means that you're happy, with who you are, like with the way you look, with the way you hold yourself. And lastly, just, I think as an up-and-coming artist, you just have to be aware of the drink and drugs culture in the music industry. Like, for me, I have to not do anything, basically, because of who I am. Like, I've tried to dip in and out, and it didn't work for me, because that, I could go 9 times. We could have a drink now and a couple lines. It'd be a great time, yeah? But inevitably, that will then open the door, and it will start to become more regular, and that 10th time will come where all hell breaks loose. I've got too much to lose now, I mean, I had too much to lose before that, but I'm just more aware of it. So it's not about going completely sober, but just be aware of what you're like when you're drinking, when you're partying, when you're doing drugs. How often are you doing it? Like, because the thing is, with a DJ career, I never dreamt that I'd even be here now speaking with you, who's run a fantastic platform and still being able to be a part of this scene, even in how small that looks. It's like, I'm still can't believe I've made it this far. That can happen like that, especially now with social media. Like, you could just be playing in your bedroom or 1 or 2 smaller gigs, and then before you know it, you can be blowing up. If you get a number 1 on Beatport or something, it can happen. Or on TikTok, one of your tracks blows up now.
Yeah, no, it definitely happens, yeah.
So you can go from just going out every now and again to every single week, 3-4 times a week. It's what we all want as DJs, really, isn't it? To be touring around the world. So I think it's really important from an early stage to make sure.
We lose a lot of people from that.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
We've lost quite a few.
Exactly, and I think it's not just in the DJs, it's music, on a whole, isn't it? Music.
Yeah, of course, like it's the DJs that are in the news and talked about, but there's probably a lot of cases of the, outside of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that they're the 3, elements, really. It's like some sort of self-control, some sort of daily routine. Fasting worked really well, especially if you travel a lot, because you can do it anywhere. Exercise, make sure you're doing some sort of exercise and make sure you're happy with the way you look and feel. And then lastly, just be aware of what drink and drugs are doing. Because in my experience, okay, maybe when I first started, but like cocaine it ain't doing anyone any favors.
The devil.
It is,
Unfortunately, that one is the worst
horrible
one. It's not even the same with the other ones. That one's the worst one.
But for me, alcohol was always a gateway, though. So that's why
it is. That's the deceptive thing about it is you'll have a couple pints or a couple drinks, and then all of a sudden your ability to say no to someone who has it in the group goes down.
Absolutely.
And usually there's someone in the group or someone around you that's a bit of a feeder. Who is the most addicted, but wants everyone else to do it so that they feel more comfortable.
Well, that was me.
And they're the ones giving it out to everyone.
Oh, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
I wasn't giving it out to everyone, but I was instigating it for sure.
Yeah, or at least instigating.
Yeah,
collecting the money, whatever it is. There'll be someone who kind of is the logistics and has the numbers and sometimes you have to stay away from that person for a period of time.
For me, I went from living in Berlin to Southampton. I literally removed myself from the scene completely.
Yeah.
I'd lost contact with. Not. Yeah, I know I needed to, and I need to change the people.
But you have made a huge change.
Oh, absolutely.
And so, like, what, you've created this, amazing transmission now, right? That doesn't just speak to DJs, but speaks to everyone in this journey, because it's not just DJs. Like, you think about British culture, it's kind of built around drink and Coke sometimes. What are you doing now, and like, what is your like transmission today?
So Willers Fitness is the business that I run. It started. It's funny how it started. It actually started as just me documenting my journey on my old Willers Brothers Instagram. Yeah, and what was crazy is that a lot of people that I looked up to in the scene, like a lot of really cool DJs as well. I was private and confidential, so I don't want to say names to people that didn't want to be named, but some really cool artists that I absolutely love started reaching out to me and having conversations with me about, like, how are you doing this, bro? Because me and Liam are known for partying as well. So when they see that I was like started to get in shape and doing it, like, they start to reach out, and then I was able to sort of set up this business. It was through Kai, actually. He was the first one to really help. Like, he was like, look, Sean, I want you to help me through one of these programs, and I'll document it, like, on his page. And it did. And after that, it started to take off. So when I first set up Willers Fitness, the vision was to help DJs or people within the music industry have some sort of control over their health and fitness. So making sure that they had daily habits, holding themselves accountable, losing a little weight if they needed to, or just like getting a little healthier to create longevity in the process. Or for DJs that have been in there a long time, maybe trying to reclaim some of that they'd lost for so long. But as it's grown bigger, we've started to reach so many more people and realize that there's a lot of people out there who, maybe are business owners or high achievers, but are just not happy with that consistency of the weekend cycle, or, maybe, people in London who work in the city who are going out on a Thursday and then just really underperforming in their business or their work life and their relationships as well. And that's sort of where it's digressed to now, is that the vision for Willers Fitness is to help people break that cycle and understand that they don't need to use drugs or drink on a consistent basis. And we do that by transformative or performance-based goals. So it gives them something to work towards, and then we build community around that as well. So then when they come out the other side, they're looking great, they're feeling great, they've got these newfound habits, but they've also got focus and purpose, which is a problem, because for a lot of people, going out at the weekend is like a release, because you've got nothing really, else out there. But at the same time, we try and help them, bring them into a community of people. So, it's not just them doing it on their own. And that's where we're at the moment. So
amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And that's sort of, because we were talking before, that's actually expanding now into something much bigger.
Yeah, so
where you want to impact even more people.
Yeah, we want to impact even more people now. We're really trying to bring in the community side of things, because I think this is where so many people get worried about, breaking the cycle that they're in. It's like, well, what do they do at the weekend? Who are they going to speak to? What are they going to do outside of that? So now we're trying to real push that community element, and we're starting something up that's going to be based around just in London, which is a 12-week. It's sort of like a challenge where you'll come on board for 12 weeks. You'll do no drink, no drugs. You'll get in the best shape of your life, but you'll do it with a community of people. So we'll have an event at the start. We'll have weekly runs at Friday Night Lights, which will be included. There'll be workshops. There'll be a really cool community on WhatsApp and in-person meets. And then at the end of the 12 weeks, we'll do another event where we do a photo shoot, and we all do like a meet up. And then we have like a little party at the end, which will be alcohol free. And you'll get to meet everyone again that you've just sort of taken on this journey. So at the end of it, you not only look great, you feel great, but you're now in a community of people that are on that similar journey. So then you can carry that on your own and live this new lifestyle. So
that's really powerful. And then we also spoke about something that we're going to give away to people that are listening to this, and obviously people that are in the Trackstat community around a sort of kickstart program. If you're wanting to kind of do something and like
Yeah.
bring some of these elements of self-control, fitness, and community into your life.
Yeah.
Is that still something you want to speak to?
Absolutely. So I think the idea of this would be to bring a almost like health starter pack, you know, just like certain things and procedures and structures and routines that you can do as you start your journey, or maybe you're a little further into it, that is just going to help give you some control on that health and fitness side and help you understand it a little bit more as well. And that'll be like free guides through self-control, discipline, simple, you know, workout plans to get you started, bit of nutritional advice, especially for when you're on the road, sleep advice as well, because there's another thing. If you're in the music industry, sleep is something that's impacted. So certain steps that you can take to make sure that you're prioritizing your sleep, like when you're not on tour or when you're away, or even for example, for people who have got a full-time job but then trying to, you know, create a career as a DJ at the same time. Like, it's about making sure that you've got good time management, using your time wisely, and then making sure you're getting enough sleep and you're feeling at 100% so you can perform best in both areas.
Yeah, love that. Mate, amazing like share.
Thank you.
What a cool thing. How can people like connect with you, dive into some of the offerings that you're talking about? Is it just on Instagram or?
Yeah, so you can go over to willersfitness.co.uk, read a little bit more about that there, or just inbox me directly on Instagram. I'm in there all the time giving away free advice. You know, the content is always based around this, and we always offer a free 15-minute call for anyone who wants to find out a little bit more information on how the whole thing works.
Yeah, amazing. And then we'll be doing our little joint thing
Absolutely
in the coming months.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Well, great to have you on, man.
Cheers, man.
Really good.
Nice one.